Protocol Star Resonance, a game many of us have been anticipating and looking forward to playing, has finally arrived. Now, I've spent a considerable amount of time playing the beta and sinking my teeth into everything it has to offer, and I can sincerely tell you guys, we finally have a full-fledged anime MMO game on our hands. In this video, I'll be going over my initial impressions on what this game has to offer, such as the character customization, the weapon classes, the combat and build systems, exploration, gacha aspects, and last but definitely not least, the dungeons and boss fights. I'll also briefly be touching up on some story expectations in terms of what I got to experience in the beginning, and then I'll briefly go over the guild system and the housing systems as well. But before we get started, I would like to give a huge shout out to the Blue Protocol Star Resonance team for sponsoring this video and enabling me to bring it to your awareness. If you end up liking what you see, don't forget to download Blue Protocol Star Resonance now by clicking the link down below in the description box or the pinned comment in the comments section. And lastly, all the footage you see in this video is not an accurate representation of the final product. The full version will be much more refined and polished compared to the beta footage that you're seeing in my content with this video. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start off with the character customization experience first. We have 3 different body types, regardless of whether you want to play with a male or female character. And these 3 different body types are going to be based off of what you're going for. Now, in regards to how the character looks, you can do a preset. They've got a plethora of presets that might be to your liking. Let's say they aren't. There's then the customizable options where you can design how the face, the eyes, the eyebrows, the beard. They've got a plethora of options there in terms of customization. I like things like this because it enables people to get to cooking with their characters. But my personal favorite customization experience is absolutely going to be one that I think is underrated when you're designing characters in these kind of games, and that is like coloring the hair. A lot of games out there, they only give you like one style of customization. It's just what color of their hair do you want? But you've got gradients in here as well as highlights. And let me give you an example. This guy right here, he's got white hair with some red highlights they've already added in. But if I wanted to add some yellow in there and make that hair a bit more poppy to what I'm going for, I can click apply gradient. And then I could come over here, drag it to the yellow side. We'll go a little bit more on the yellow right here. I love customization like this because this enables you to really go for that look you're trying to aim for without feeling like, you're quite limited. Like, look, I put that on the half. He's got red on one half, white on the other half. That was my favorite quality that I've seen in the character customization experience. Now it's time to talk about one of the most important aspects of an MMO, and that is the classes. What kind of class variety are we looking at here? How do they function? So there are 2 different specs. And what I like about this is in viewing these specs, you can also look down here to know which skills to go for that are going to be suitable to that spec in play style. There's 8 classes in total, 2 supports, 4 attack classes, and 2 tank classes. Starting off with Wind Knight. Wind Knight is your spear class. It's got 2 different specs. One on the ground, you're doing all of your abilities for the most part all on the ground, and you're just managing cooldowns and trying to constantly do DPS. But then you've got the second spec, which is Skyward spec. And this is the one I am playing right now. The minute I saw this guy with this spear jumping in the air and popping off, lunging spears, jumping back up, resetting, throwing freaking tornadoes around. Oh, bro, I was like, I gotta play this class. And I've been having a great deal of fun with it. Keep in mind, each class is going to show you not only a difficulty level, but also attributes, strength, crit, and luck. This will be your linear pathing in terms of what stats you're going to be looking for as you're developing these characters. But yeah, this is the Windward Knight. It's one of the classes I am eyeing very closely. As the game is launched, I'm still deciding between this and one other class. We've also got Stormblade, which is normally the class I would choose immediately without thinking. But I've been a weeb for so long in my life. I always go for the Katana class that's super edgy, super flashy with the EI sheath. I think it's finally time I play something else. I'll let the weebs have it in this game. But hey, I never do that. Normally I go for the weeb class. It looks incredible. This is another attack class, right? Wind Knight and Stormblade. These are 2 of the 4 attack classes. You've got the EI slash spec, and then you've got the Moonstrike spec, which is a scythe it starts throwing out the sight. Yes, boys. So this class I feel is going to be very popular with a lot of weebs because you've got an EI Sheath playstyle, then you got a Scythe playstyle. And then we've got Frost Mage. This is another attack class. This is going to be obviously an Ice Mage type of playstyle. If that's like something that you're interested in, you like a ranged character that doesn't get too close. You know mages are broken in all games, right? So you've got Icicle spec, and then you've got your Frost Beam spec, which just to show you off, the Icicles was like making it rain and stuff. And then you've got this one also making it rain, but then you've got the Unibeam, you got the Ice Beam, bro. So yeah, that's your other attack class. You've got Verdant Oracle. This is going to be your support class, one of two of them, right? This one here got two sick little Chakram blades. It's going to be a healing class with some supportive capabilities. And then we've got Heavy Guardian. This is the other class I am looking to play. I still haven't decided between if I want to go Wind Knight or Heavy Guardian. I'm a massive simp for double-bladed weapons. And so when I see a double-bladed weapon, I'm like, oh my, okay, you know what, bro? That wind spear is cool and all, but using a double-bladed weapon's even better. Plus, in MMOs, everyone wants a tank. And this class is a tank. It's one of the Guardian classes. It's got a Earth Fort spec. And this one's going to be more so of like using your shield to absorb damage, gain increased damage while shielded, effective in any situation that requires damage mitigation. I personally like the block spec. I played this class and the block spec's really nice because you can taunt people. You see how you suck them in. You can apply shields very similar to the Earth Fort spec as well. And you're dropping rocks on head. I loved it. It's got that Earth like type of play style. I'm a big fan of it, bro. So I'm probably going to go either this class or Wind Knight. These two are the ones that I fell for. Next up, we've got the final attack class, which is Marksman. If you're somebody, I think this will be a nice beginner-friendly class for people who are a bit intimidated by MMOs. Those are always a really nice class to start off with as a nub, maybe if you're getting into MMOs for the first time, because they got the range, you don't have to get in close. They're very easy to play. They're not hard, right? You just like pop off with your bow from a distance. So I think the bow class might be a solid beginner-friendly pass for people who don't want to worry about like upkeeping too many buffs, inputting in too many buttons and stuff. It's just usually a pretty solid beginner-friendly class. Shield Knight. I think this class, in my personal opinion, is probably going to be the most broken class in the game. This class does it all. It's a tank class, first and foremost, but it also can heal itself. It deals damage. It does it all. And so I think this is another solid class for people to play that are looking for that all-around experience to get through the game, have a good progressional experience. It's got the recovery spec, and then it's got the shield spec as well. You can play around with it. You can see this one's got a 4 out of 5 difficulty, whereas the recovery spec's only 2. And then we've got Beat Performer. Once again, I love this class because this is the final support class. I love this class because you get to play with a freaking guitar and generate buffs, heal your party, buff your party, deal damage while you're doing it. Look, there's a guitar like aura just emanating on the field while you're popping off. You've got the Concerto spec over here too. This one says that uses Healing Beat as a special attack, and it bounces between Healing Melody and Speaker Melody. I just think this is probably the most innovative class that I've seen in some time in terms of cooking up supportive capabilities. It reminds me of like a hunting horn from Monster Hunter. So I think if you're a big fan of playing with a guitar and generating buffs and stuff like that, you'll love that class too. The next segment I want to briefly cover in terms of the basics and fundamentals is going to be the build system as well as the character progression. Often at times when you get into a new game, you're kind of confused with regards to how things function. And so that's my goal here, to just help you guys out. Let's say you have your class. Mine is Wind Knight. Next to it is going to be called a spec. Whatever spec you're doing, if you click on that, it's going to lead you to a skill tree. This skill tree is quite intricate. The first skill tree, all you have to do is completely fill it out entirely. You have 30 skill points that you're going to gain access to, and you're just going to go down the line. If you ever played ARPGs, very similar dynamic here. Go down the line, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. Don't stress out about strategy, because in this first skill tree, you literally fill up every single one of them. And once you do, you're going to then gain access to one of 2 specs. Remember, I was telling you guys about this at the beginning. When you're choosing your class, every class has 2 specs. I chose Skyward spec once I filled out all 30. Then it's going to unlock the actual like skill tree. Now, what's cool about this is, as I said before, having 2 specs for every class adds to the longevity of you mastering and maining that class, because it gives you something to work towards. Well, this is going to double down on that concept even further. You can see this skill tree is much more expansive and you only get 31 skill points up here. That's a lot more than 31 skills, right, to fill out. And so this is going to lead you to have to like figure out what kind of play style you're going for. If that's too overwhelming for you, you can always look at guides too, as there will be a lot of theory crafters showing you what is optimal and what's not optimal, so on and so forth. But I ultimately love that you have the freedom to cook with this amount of skill trees to choose from with only 31 points. And then finally, we've got our skill tree over here split into 3 different categories. Now, this is going to be quite something I want to go over to make sure you understand it, because I was confused at first. So we've got fixed skills. This means you cannot interchange these skills. These will be like basically the fundamentals of the class. So if I try to drag, you can't drag any of them. If I try to drag these down here, you can, right? So up here, you've got a basic attack, a specials cast, and then you've got your ultimate. Once again, you cannot change these on any class. But then you've got expertise. These are the core abilities you'll be using depending on the spec you went for. Then down here, we have what's called Battle Imagine. I really like this system. It's quite innovative. You get to summon up to 2 summonable creatures or allies that are going to aid into the overall build that you're going for with that particular class. If we come over here to these panels at the top left-hand corner, and then we scroll down, you'll see this segment will be where all the Battle Imagine summonable creatures are accessible. Now you can also refine all of these by clicking advance, and you'll have the materials. They can be refined up to 5 times, increasing the efficacy of their performance. Down the line, you'll also be able to roll for these Battle Imagines and get some pretty broken ones. I'll just click on a one at random. He grants battle will to the entire team, preventing all allies from being defeated and ensuring the HP does not fall below a certain threshold. Obviously, something like that can be very valuable in a boss fight or a raid and such. And so like you're going to strategically decide which ones you want to use going into those fights. And then, of course, they also have some stats that will be added into the overall build for your characters. So very valuable piece. I also wanted to point out that there's also the gearing system. You got a weapon, a helmet, a chest piece, an arm piece, a leg piece, and then you've got your jewelry down here, which is a ring, a necklace, earrings, 2 bracelets, and a charm. I also like that they keep the recommendation system going here. If you don't know what you're going for with your current class, you can just click on some of the gear and it'll tell you the recommendations: strength, crit, and luck. And so if I have something in my arsenal that has those stats, then you'll know that that's a pretty good piece. Now, modules is a panel I haven't unlocked yet, but it's basically an extension of the build system. You're going to pretty much unlock this panel over here, and what it will be is 2 more pieces you can add on that are going to boost the stats of your character, thus making you an even stronger class that you're utilizing. Now, in terms of progression, you're going to obviously want to level your character up as fast and as quickly as possible. There's actually very finite ways to do so. One, sticking to the MSQ, that'll be this little panel over here with the 2 little arrows. As much as possible, it's going to be giving you a ton of experience as you're progressing through the main story. And then doing your dailies. Your dailies are going to be located here in the season hub. If we click on the season hub, it will always tell you a recommendation of dailies you can do. You can also refresh if you don't like it, you feel like it's too difficult. And then you've got some others down here, but the goal is to fill this up to 500. Each panel is going to reward a lot of experience. You do not want to miss out on your dailies. And it's very simple. Things like defeat an elite for the day, defeat 20 monsters for the day. This will aid significantly in you leveling up on a day-to-day basis, pair it up with doing your main story quests. And then, of course, there will also be some side quests that you want to do. You do not want to skip out on these purple ones. They will also be very pertinent to the progressional phase of the game. Case in point, one of these purple quests gave me access to doing the dungeons, the boss fights and stuff. Some of these purple quests are literally essential to your progression. And then the green ones, of course, these are going to be more of kind of like side quests for you to knock out. They give out experience as well. Once you've knocked out your dailies as well as your main story quests and the purples, obviously if you need a bit more experience, you can then go into those green ones as well. Speaking of knocking out purple quests, this purple icon over here is going to be where you're going to be doing your dungeons. You'll be doing one of the purple quests to unlock and gain access to this as you progress through the game. And these dungeons are going to be located over here on top of this whole little map right here. And if you click on any one of them, you'll be able to see a normal, a hard, and a master version. With each obviously it's going to be higher drops of gear, more rare gear with the difficulty of the fights. Looking over here at ability score will be a good indicator of whether you're capable to take on that dungeon. Like this one's only 1870, master's 27,810. So that's clearly going to be in-game oriented. What I really appreciated about this though is you aren't forced to group up. You can do a single experience, and if you click challenge, it will queue you up with AI oriented characters that will allow you to still get through that dungeon experience and get your gear for the day. Really nice QOL, especially for casual players or people who might like struggle finding dungeon parties and queuing up. Which, speaking of which, maybe you're a casual who has fallen behind in terms of doing your dailies. Maybe you're not logging in every single day. Well, I got some good news for you. Blue Protocol Star Resonance actually has something called a Reclaim Hub. And if you come over here to this Reclaim Hub, you will accrue this currency right here that allows you to essentially catch up on days you failed to do your dailies and stuff. And you'll end up getting loot by simply trading this currency in that you otherwise would not have gotten if you didn't log in. And so this is a way to help out people who aren't as sweaty in terms of like grinding the heck out of this game, as MMOs could be very grindy. Such a nice system to incorporate into the game to help out the more casual player. The last bit of detail I want to go over, since we're right here before we move on to the next segment, is gear farming is absolutely going to reside here with the dungeons, of course, which is the most enjoyable part of MMOs for me personally. But if you're looking to upgrade your gear, obviously this is going to be where you're the most bang for your buck in terms of getting increased in power, especially in the vertical progression earlier stages. You're going to be wanting to come over here to these dungeons. Now, there are also monster hunting in terms of going out into the world for exploration purposes, where you'll be fighting bosses. These bosses will give in-game gear modules. These are the modules that you're going to be putting on that I haven't unlocked yet. And then, of course, you'll be getting weapons and enhancement materials, so on and so forth. That's something you can do, but the best bang for your buck is going to be doing the dungeons. Now I want to talk to you guys about my exploration experience with Blue Protocol Star Resonance, which I think is one of its very strong suits. The way they've progressively allowed you to unlock like really cool elements as you get through the game has been very fun. First of all, you get your mount relatively quickly, which is just this little guy right here. He can sprint. You can also auto path. They have auto pathing. So if you're trying to get somewhere, like if I'm trying to get quests right here, I can click navigate and it'll immediately start auto pathing. It'll even teleport to the nearest teleport to get there. Really cool, convenient perk like that. But let's say for whatever reason, the game didn't have mounting, which it does. And it has cosmetic mounts and stuff too. We'll show that off later. You have so many tools to like traverse the maps. Like for example, you have double jump, triple jump, or quadruple jump. Oh my God. And then you have a hexa jump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bro. Like when they showed me the hexa jump, that blew my freaking socks off. So that's a really cool perk, but it gets better than that, guys. So we can like hexa jump, right? And then we can float, right? And then we can go straight in to a like somewhat of a pseudo fly. Let me go ahead and show you how that looks. It's really cool. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We float. And then we go straight into a fly. Look at this, man. I mean, this is just so freaking cool to me, dude. Like the fact that you can fly around in a freaking MMO at like will. And let's say if I want to crash land, like, oh, that's a spot. I can just go down, boom, and just land like that. You can also float down if you want to. Check this out. We can also run up walls. I mean, guys, this is a freaking MMO we're talking about here, right? So I can like do this, jump off, and then I can just start running up the wall if I want to. I can hover over it, no problem. There's also a dash right here, which is really cool. It gets rid of wind currents and stuff. If you jump, you can time a QTE jump to like really get your coverage going. Look at that. I mean, there's just so many different ways for you to like traverse the map and get to where you're going. And get this, the way it works is your adventurer levels right here. You click on it and you come to this panel, and this is where the levels of unlocking these abilities come into play, right? So once I hit 48, I will unlock kicking walls to jump higher. It consumes stamina. Once I hit level 50, I will unlock slowly ascend in midair, air float. Hold the jump button while jumping to ascend and continuously consume stamina, which means I'll be able to literally like ascend into the air. So I haven't unlocked those two yet. As I said, I'm still getting through the game and finding my bearings, but these cool things like this make all the difference when you're roaming a fantastical world and being adventurous. Now, apart from this, there's even more perks. So like there's certain terrain areas that are difficult to get to, even with all those adventurous perks. they're kind of like a pain in the butt to get to. They have little things around the map that are interactables, such as like wind currents, so that you can propel yourself up to a very high terrain in a quick amount of time, or propel yourself up, take a look at what's happening around you in the map, and then fly over to that area. And then there's wind currents that just outright like take you to a destination in their own right. And so it's almost like it's limitless in terms of what you can do in this game with its explorative properties. Now I want to briefly talk to you guys about the combat experience. First and foremost, in MMOs, often at times, especially the old school ones, there were just way too many buttons to input. In Blue Protocol, I feel they struck a pretty healthy balance. You've got numbers 1 through 5 numbers to input. You've got your Z and X for your battle imagines, and they go on a pretty brief cooldown. And then you've got your basic attack ability, right? And that's pretty much it. But what was cool and unique to Blue Protocol Star Resonance in particular was they put in a perfect dodge mechanism. That is unusual for MMOs. Usually you can't dodge, you just take damage whether you want to or not. But in this game, with a very tight window, which I can appreciate, especially because it's an MMO, you time it correctly, a perfect dodge can happen, and you can even follow it up with a pretty strong basic attack. That was a really cool experience for me. And then when we get around to the dungeons as well as the raid fights, they have the raid mechanics that you have to pay close attention to, as well as the dungeon mechanics when you're fighting the boss that you do have to figure out and pay close attention to. Otherwise, you get wiped. Well, figure out's a bit of a stretch. They have a bit of a guideline as before you preemptively go into battle. It kind of can hold your hand a bit and say, hey, these are the mechanics that are going to be happening in this fight. Make sure you pay a close attention and do them. Otherwise, you're going to take more damage or potentially get TKO'd or one shot, if you will. But I've also heard, and I didn't get to this point, that with the raid fights, less telegraphic moves, more impact in terms of paying attention to the rotations and as well as the timing windows for the mechanics of the boss. And if you don't, then you'll fail that raid too. So it does have that MMO pressure when you're grouping up with your parties. You've got the big raids too, where it's a lot of people hunting one big boss. And then you've got the dungeons where it's like, your little 4-man party and stuff like that. Now I want to briefly go over some elements that I think are worth mentioning. First and foremost, there's a guild system that you can join, of course, and that's pretty important in MMOs. You can use guild incentives to get buffs on particular fights. In fact, if we come over here to features, this is where you look at your like daily missions. You've got your unstable space, you've got your elite hunts, boss hunts, and then you see guild cargo. But if we come over here to our weeklies, you'll notice there's guild activities that you can do. There's also guild hunts and even a guild dance. And all of these are going to incentivize you to obviously build some camaraderie with your guild members, but also get some like, resource acquisition to develop your characters further. There is also a housing system to where you can design your own house and deck that out and stuff. I never got a chance to try it out, but I did at least want to reference that. But now we got to talk about the gacha. This is purely cosmetic, right? So they're going to be having some cosmetic drips on the gacha banners that you can pull for. They're going to be having some cosmetic drip for mounts. So you can go around and, if you like that type of aesthetic, you can pull on that mount, and it shows off a little video down here so you can see what they can do and so on and so forth. I think this is pretty cool. And most importantly, it doesn't affect your gameplay experience in terms of like power creep, power spike, so on and so forth. It's purely for cosmetic purposes, and that's about it. And then in the store, speaking of cosmetics, you also have your fashion store right here. And some of the ones I've already noticed, this one looked kind of cool. Me personally, I'm a weeb. I will take this helmet off right here, and I'll just use this right here. I also really like this. This is something I would use if I were to use my like either a samurai class or even my spear class. I think my spear class will look cool with this outfit. This here would also look cool for the spear or the samurai class. I keep saying samurai class, but it's like an EI sheath, katana, or scythe. But these are some outfits that they'll be dropping. I noticed they have a style vault. I think you can probably get like clothes discounted for a bargain. They've got some accessories. You can put some hats on and stuff. They've got a lot of different cosmetic options. And speaking of which, in the beauty center, I really like the fact that you can come over here to hairstyle and change it. And they've got even more hairstyles over here that you can unlock as you progress through the game. Like this one right here, I was saving this purely for this video. I just got this just by playing through the game. And so I can unlock this by using this little badge right here that I got from playing through the game. So we'll go ahead and click unlock. Bink, and now I have that hairstyle unlocked. The next one I'm looking to get is going to be this one. He looks cool with that. I like that hairstyle. Some of the really cool hairstyles that I feel can reference anime characters are like unlocked later on down the line too. But that was something I appreciated as well, because I'm not sure, but I think you'll be able to unlock most of these for Probably just playing through the game. If not, well, I guess we'll find out. Maybe it'll be in the store. Who knows? And now I really wanted to show this off because the mount skins were something I really appreciated. And so like you got your horse, right? Okay, who cares? You've got this that you can get on the Gacha banner. Okay, who cares? Check this out. You've got this guy, right? And if you do this, it'll show them running. Bro, he runs like a freaking anime character. And then you got this guy who does the regular run. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, nah, we got to get this guy right here. Bro's hitting the anime run, you know? And then you got these are hovering. So of course they're not going to show it. I just thought this was really cool. You got a bunny. I did unlock this bunny. I have this bunny right now. In fact, let's go ahead and equip him. I want to see what that looks like. Oh, wow. He's a lot bigger than I thought. Yeah, so I'm always super stoked about like cosmetic skins, not only just for like weapons and costumes, but also for mounts, man. This is really cool type of stuff right here. These are the little things I care about. That's why I saved it for the end of the video. And the last thing I want to talk about is just my initial experience, because I didn't play through I started skipping a bunch of the story because I'm going to be playing this game, so I didn't want to spoil myself. But I did at least give the opening sequence a tune in. And it was very refreshing. It gave off an air of it felt like I was watching an isekai anime. When you meet the main character, Irona, with your character, she's very like vibrant, uplifting, goofy, charismatic, all the above. And it gives off that sense of I'm going into an isekai. You talk to the guy who's in charge of the tavern, and he has a great personality that's usually that of a tavern guy. There's this the Adventurers Guild, where you join the guild and you take on quests and go out to the hunts. It's very akin to watching your traditional isekai animes in the form of a story formats. Outside of that, I didn't really get the chance to soak in the rest of the story. It could very well be mid. I'm not personally sure, honestly. But that first opener, take my word for it, it was a breath of fresh air. It was actually quite nice. That's going to wrap up my overall impressions as usual. I hope I gave you guys a pretty good insight into what you can expect with Blue Protocol, while also offering some invaluable tips. If you ended up liking what you see, once again, download Blue Protocol now by clicking the link down below in the description box or the pinned comment in the comment section. My link is there. It'll enable you to download this game. It doesn't cost a thing, and it helps the dream. Once again, huge shout out to their team for sponsoring this video. This was a fantastic sponsor because I was already looking forward to playing the game. Thanks for watching. Peace, love, and happiness, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.